Well, welcome into Buffs Prime Time. It's week number 4 of the college football season. We come to you from the Post Chicken and Beer in downtown Boulder. The Colorado Buffaloes now sitting at 0-3 on the campaign, coming off a loss last week at Minnesota as they wrap up non-conference play. 49-7 was the final score in that ball game. And now we get set for Pac-12 conference plays. We've got UCLA coming to town this weekend. And that's a 12 noon kickoff. Coach Barnett, Andy Lindahl and I are going to hit the air at 10 a.m. on Saturday morning. We'll be out on Franklin Field. Come by and say hi. We'll be out there for the first hour and 15 minutes or so. And then we'll head back up to the broadcast booth. We'll get things underway up there and then kick things off at noon on Saturday as the Buffs will open up against UCLA. Chip Kelly and company coming in at 3-0. They're coming off a nail-biter this past week. In fact, they've had some interesting games here early in the season. They're 3-0, but it's kind of a tenuous 3-0. They've had a couple of contests where, in fact, they were down in the second quarter and had to come back. And last week against South Alabama, in fact, they needed a last-second field goal to win that ball game. So they're coming off a 45-17 win, lopsided second halves in these ball games. Against Bowling Green, then beat Alabama State 45-7 for that squeaker, 32-31 as they knocked off South Alabama. Coming up in the show, the head coach, Carl Durrell, sitting down. He'll join us here. We're also going to talk with safeties coach Brett Maxey. He'll be with us. And then one of his players, Trevor Woods, who's safety for the young Buffaloes, a sophomore for the Buffs, who is kind of a young, exciting player. He'll be joining us as well as we kind of work our way towards that Saturday ball game with UCLA. We welcome in the head coach of the Colorado Buffaloes, Carl Durrell. Welcome.
Glad to see you. How you doing?
Good to see you. Fresh off the practice field.
Fresh off the practice field, rushing through the. Yeah. You remember those OJ commercials when he used
running
for
through
Hertz?
The airport, yeah.
For the rental car, and he's jumping over.
Yeah. Is that what you were doing?
Well, I was trying to get here where I wasn't too late, so I apologize for my tardiness.
Well, I'm not sure you're nearly as athletic as OJ was back in the day, are you?
Not now, no.
Yeah, not now.
Exactly.
Not now. Well, the Buffs drop it at Minnesota. Let's kind of get a postscript in that, Carls. You went back and kind of looked at things against the Gophers. What were your thoughts?
Well, we didn't play well. That's the one thing. There were some things, obviously, we two weeks in a row where we start so poorly offensively with turnovers, and obviously that's a huge point of contention for us going forward, particularly for this game this week. We want to get started, with more consistency on the offensive side, and I think we need to do that. It's obviously been an issue for us, so that's kind of the thing that shoots us in the foot at the start of the games. But when you evaluate that game, we lost it in the trenches. We really did. I think we were outmatched in terms of the physicality of the game, both on the offensive side and defensive side, but. It's still we hung in there and did a few things in there, and we ran the ball effectively at times offensively. We just didn't have any passing game to help complement that. So the rhythm offensively was very, very challenging. I thought with Owen coming in late, at least he showed us a little bit of glimpse of something what it should look like. And, so we're working hard on really getting to that point of playing with a little more consistency and efficiency offensively. Defensively, it was a pretty good challenge. Like I said, I think their front was a little bit better than our front. But still, that didn't we still had a lot of things to shore up, even with those things. We didn't tackle well. There was 23 missed tackles. So, the bottom line, to summarize that game, we have to put our players in better position, and we got to ask our players to do the things that they're capable of doing and not putting them in too bad of situations, in terms of from a scheme perspective. So that was really the really important facts of going into this week. We want to make sure we're really trying to dot the I's and cross the T's of every single detail of what we're doing, every position, making sure they're doing the things that they're capable of doing. And then, obviously, I love where we are from an attitude perspective. They know they can play better. I mean, that's the thing that I think all of us as coaches, we're working really hard to really shore up a lot of those issues, and on the same time, they're reciprocating with their effort. They really want to get these things shored up, and I think it was a good week of practice.
Anytime that an offense struggles, the tendency is always to point to the quarterback. I mean, I don't care if it's high school, college, professional, whatever it is. When you look at your offense, there are a lot of things going on out there. You just talked about your offensive front. You got some big, strong guys up there. When you say they're not playing up to where you need to be, what are you seeing?
Well, we got to coach them better. It still comes down to us doing our job, me doing my job. But, we can't have where, 9 guys are doing the right things and 2 guys aren't, that type of thing. So, we have to have more efficiency with everything that we're doing. Our O-line, they're playing solid. They can play better. Every position can play better. We can coach better. So we that's really how we've approached this week, was really owning up to our obligations as a coaching staff and really expressing those things with our team just to keep them focused on, this is the plan of action going forward. We're trying to do things to help our preparation be even better. They've implemented those things really, really well in practice. So, we're ready for another shot.
All right. Do you sit down and look at what you're doing, and I'm just thinking of throwing things against the wall here. Do you start to simplify things for your guys so they don't have to think about so many things?
I wouldn't say simplify. It's definitely things that they need to know,
okay.
right? We can't ask them to do things that they're not capable of, first of all, performing, and then secondly, if they don't know enough about, that particular scheme or play.
Yeah.
It starts there, but we want to streamline it to doing the things that we do really well, yeah. that we think we do really well, and really focus and gain confidence on doing those things properly and having a faster start offensively and doing a really good job defensively of not giving them too many great opportunities early in games.
You shuffled things up front last week. Van
yes.
Wells got a start. You had, Casey Roddick moved over to right tackle. Assess what you saw from that lineup.
It actually worked out pretty well. I thought Casey did a pretty good job there, playing in our right tackle. And I thought Van, for a true freshman, did a really, really serviceable job against some big people. He did really, really good things up front. So, you're going to see a little bit still of those combinations. You're going to have Casey playing both guard and tackle. Okay. And he's a veteran player that he doesn't really he's one of those guys that he could put more on his plate, right, because he's a veteran player. So we're trying to simplify to put our best guys in certain positions and certain things that we're doing.
I know that, talking to hearing you talk about him and then talking to Kyle over the course of camp, Van is a guy that you guys think is an exciting young player.
Yes.
That's a heck of a deal. For an offensive lineman, right, true freshman, to throw him out there, that's a big step, isn't it?
It's a huge step. You usually don't see that.
Right.
It's usually 20, 30 pounds of different weight and, a lot stronger guys you're going against than when you were in high school. So you usually do not see that. But he came in very prepared. His body was in good shape. He trained, on his own. And by the time he came here this summer, he was able to make a seamless transition with what we're doing, and he caught up to what we're doing offensively. So that allowed him time to get a chance to play, and he's done a really, really fabulous job. He reminds me a lot like Andre Gerard,
okay.
who we had here, who was obviously from a similar area from Houston, Texas.
Yeah,
and
great player.
Andre was a great player for us in the 90s. So we feel like his future is really very bright.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what's the biggest transition there? Is it the physicality or the mental aspect of it?
Say that again.
What's the biggest challenge for a young player? Is the physical aspect or the mental aspect when you're a freshman?
Well, I would say in his position it's the physical aspect, and just because sometimes those guys aren't really ready from a strength perspective to battle at that level, but he was able to do that. Mm-hmm. The mental side is really your frame of kind of how you learn and how you perform and how you can kind of digest the information, and everybody's different that way. Yeah. You have different learning styles, right? So, he's just one of those guys who was able to pick it up very quickly. Another one is like Chase Sowell, same way. He's a young receiver, a true freshman for us that he's playing really well for us too. Is because he gets it. He was able to digest that information and able to perform it and do pretty well for us. So it is rare to see that happen with young players. It is rare, but occasionally you see, it's happened, even years previously, with Nico Reed and, Kalen Moore. So those are two true freshmen a year ago that had to play, and they did a nice job.
When you brought up Owen Mccown, tell me what you saw from him when he got a chance to play.
He kind of went in there with I think he just did his natural instinctive way of playing. He kind of approached it like it was no big deal, and he's kind of a calm, cool, collective guy anyway, and he just kind of went out there and did his thing. So, that was pretty encouraging to see, that it didn't get too big for him. He felt like he was in it. I know the first couple of things he had a sack and all that stuff. So, but he kind of minimized the sack by getting back to the line of scrimmage as close as he could, which I thought was a really good move. So he just did some natural instinctive things that, was kind of unique for a freshman to be able to do.
When you've got a young guy like that comes from the background that he has, you got a father that played in the NFL, you got an uncle that played in the NFL, and you come from that kind of background. I mean, we frequently talk about coaches' kids and how they understand the game a little bit. He probably comes in with a, probably above average understanding of what's expected of him and how to prepare himself, correct?
I would think so, just because of that experience and being around the game for probably since he was an infant, just being around it and seeing it, and his dad and uncle and things like that. So that's definitely could be an advantage for him.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see. And you said those guys have all been taking, all three quarterbacks have taken snaps with the ones this week, right?
Yeah, they have.
Talk a little bit about what you've been seeing from all three of them.
They're training hard, working hard.
Yeah.
You know, we all have a sense of urgency right now. It's the best thing about it. We're looking at this the conference season now. You know, the non-conference is over. You know, we're starting with a clean slate, 0-0, and you know we got a conference run to try to, you know, improve our football and be competitive and things like that. So it starts this week, and we feel good that we had a really good week of practice for a really good game this weekend.
Buffalo's and UCLA noon on Saturday. Again, we'll hit the air at 10 o'clock on the Colorado Football Network. Our program today brought to us by the Hilton's on Canyon. You coming to Boulder for game day? Stay at the Hilton's on Canyon, the official hotel of the CU Athletic Department. We'll go ahead and take a timeout. We're at the Post Chicken and Beer in downtown Boulder. It's Buffs Primetime. Brett Maxey still to come. Trevor Wood still to come. One more segment with Carl Durrell after a break. This is Colorado Football from Learfield. Hey, today's Coaches Show brought to you by the Post Chicken and Beer with 7 Colorado Front Range locations. The Post brews delicious award-winning beers and fries up the crispiest chicken, fried chicken and beer go together like black and gold football talk. Stop by the Post for all your game time provisions for next week's show. We're going to go live to tape next Thursday from 12:30 to 1:30, and it'll air later on the network on our flagship 850 KOA from 8 to 9. It's on the other affiliates around the state from 7 until 8. Long story. And then we leave on Friday for Arizona next week. But we've still got UCLA to talk about. One more segment here with Coach Carl Durrell. Hey, before you and I were talking earlier today, before we get to talking about UCLA, we're going to be honoring at the game this weekend Colorado's only Heisman Trophy winner, Rashaan Salaam. He's going to go in the College Football Hall of Fame later on this year. And I know you crossed over with Rashaan when he got here as a freshman.
Yeah. He was a freshman when my last year. That was actually in 1993 when I was here, and he came in and was a pretty impactful guy.
You could tell right away.
Oh, shoot. He was 6'2", and, you know, 210, 215 pounds, and we just didn't have many people that looked like him. And he came in was just a hard-working kid, very friendly, had a great smile. His teammates loved him, you know. So he played for us, you know, as a reserve, as a freshman. Then obviously sophomore and junior years he took off and you know, obviously won the big trophy. But he was an outstanding young man, and you know, obviously we miss him a lot. But he was outstanding.
You know, that's a great, I think, example for players, isn't it? The fact that he came from an 8-man football program in Southern California.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you come from,
It
right?
doesn't. Yeah, it's La Jolla Country Day. That was his school. You know, it was 8-man football, and he was dominating, as you can imagine. He was dominating 8-man football, but he showed all the qualities. You know, of he was passionate about the game. He was smart, and you know, it was important to him. So it was a great pickup with Coach McCartney. You know,
we don't have time to do it right now. Wouldn't be appropriate. But Rashaan, when we got to the 20th anniversary of the Heisman Trophy, every week Rashaan and I would get together and we would do a weekly conversation where we talk about the game that week that coincided with his Heisman year, and just talked about where they were at in the season, what he remembered about that, how the game went, you know, what he was thinking in terms of the national awards and all that. Because you know, you had Michael Westbrook on us. There were a couple of guys who were really Cordell. You had guys who were kind of multiple guys who were thought of as national award winners on that. And he told one of the great stories about being recruited by Bill McCartney and his mother, and you know, he didn't think his mother would care for Bill McCartney one bit for various reasons. And I'll shorten it up, but basically, Max shows up to recruit Rashaan, and Rashaan's thinking this meeting's going to last about 5 minutes, and then Mac's going to be out the door. Well, it's Bill McCartney, and Bill gets in the living room and does what Bill does, right? I mean, just turns it on, and after about 2 or 3 hours, they get up. Bill and his mom hug. Bill walks out the door, and she turns around and says, "You're going to play for that man."
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I wasn't at that meeting. It was a home visit at that time, and I think it was Bob Simmons and Bill McCartney that were there, but they told me the story that, you know, and we knew that Mom was going to be a tough cookie in this whole thing, and Coach McCartney had a great game plan, and just smoozed the mom, recruited the mom, and for a couple hours, and tell him how this is a great place, and we're taking care of his son, and all the other things so you know, Coach McCartney was awesome. You know, he's a great recruiter, and so that was really a pretty good, you know, still for us. But you were right, because Mom said, "You're going to Colorado and Colorado only."
Is that right?
She wasn't thinking about anybody else. You're going to Colorado and Colorado only.
And when Rashaan told that story, you know, we're sitting side by side just like this, and he tells that story, and he got that infectious smile, like just, you know, remembering that. It's great stuff. But we'll be honoring Rashaan Salaam this weekend at the football game. It's also Legends Weekend. There's a lot going on, but that'll be a big part of what we do this weekend. All right, let's start talking about UCLA. Here they are 3-0 on the season. Coming off a very tough, hard-fought victory over South Alabama. The program, has got some athletes on it. They needed a last-second field goal to get the Panthers in that one. Tell me about UCLA. What do you see?
It's a veteran offense. Their quarterback's been there quite a while, and I've watched him the last couple of years too. He knows that system like the back of his hand, and he can improvise and make plays with his feet and all those things. So that's going to be the challenging aspect of really defending this offense. It's him. They have a good runner in Trevor Woods. He's a really good player. They got good receivers. They got a good young tight ends now. They had a really good one last year.
With the Broncos now.
And their O-line is, their O-line is a solid O-line, but it all runs through that quarterback. And, he makes plays in the critical times, and like a veteran player should. So it's it's going to be challenging, for all of us to really try to not only defend the offense, but also not creating too many big plays for that guy.
He's one of those guys that because of COVID and all that's gone on, he's one of those 5th or 6th year guys. It seemed like they've been there. Dorian Thompson-Robinson seems like he's been there a decade, right? I mean, long time. And you and I were chatting this morning, and you said even from your time here, from seeing him 2 years ago, there's been great improvement and maturation in terms of how he runs that team. It
is because he's been in the seat for 4 years now.
Yeah.
5 if you think about it, and he's the system hasn't changed. There's a lot of seasoning and experience that you gain with that, and it's like the guy last week at Minnesota. Similar thing, a 6-year senior, and he's going to understand the system pretty well and operate it and get it to his people. So that's DTR too, but he just has that extra, I would say, that extra layer of difficulty because of his running ability.
Yeah.
He's able to take off and take 30, 30-yard runs at a moment, and we got to really be sharp. We have to play with really good vision in the back end. Really see the field of what the offense is doing, and then when he takes off, we got to converge and get him down.
Carl, is what Chip Kelly doing now, is it similar to what he was doing back in the day with Oregon? Or is he
There's some similarities, but I think the game always evolves and changes and stuff, so there's things that are added. But, yes, there's some similarities.
Okay.
Yeah.
Up front, you think UCLA's gotten better? Has that really kind of set the tone for them?
Well, I think they're okay up front. I think they were a little better last year.
Oh, they were
They
okay.
graduated
All
a
right.
tackle. They graduated a guard. But they're solid. They're good. They can run the football. They start by running the football first, and then they make all the compliments to it afterwards. And they do a really good job. Defensively, they lost a lot of players on that side. They did bring in a bunch of grad transfers that are some older players that are playing for them, and their system is different. They got a different defensive coordinator, so it's not the same defensive coordinator from a year ago.
Okay.
He came from the NFL, so he's got more of an NFL mentality in terms of designing that defense. And they're playing well. They had a tough scare last week, and so I'm sure they're concerned about that. But I know that the conference season's here, and we know everybody's excited about the conference, and we expect a great game.
You just mentioned him coming from the NFL. It's the same game, but it's played differently at the two levels.
It is played differently. Yeah. You don't get the spread stuff as in the NFL as much.
Right.
There's certain teams that do a little bit of it. You see Buffalo Bills do a little of it. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City does a little of it. So you see certain programs or certain organizations that do some kind of college-style stuff. Not a lot, though. It's just because, there's some value at the quarterback position. That's the most expensive.
You want to get a $50 million man
right.
hurt.
So yeah, and that's what happened. Well, I don't want to get off on another tangent, but when you're running a guy like what's happened with the 49ers, unfortunately you lose your quarterback there, and that's a big investment. But they had a good backup plan, obviously. So, but that's why the NFL doesn't do it as often, because they don't want to expose their quarterbacks as often.
How about on the defensive side? What's different between the two levels defensively?
The rules of the game in college are completely different. All the unbalanced formations and stuff that you see in college, you really can't do that to the extent at the NFL level. I mean, you can do a few things, but not at the extent of what the college systems are in terms of what they do. So we can line up in 4-by formations and stuff like that. It's unbelievable, the expansion of formations you can do at the college level, but you can't necessarily. The NFL rules won't allow that. Yeah.
Well, I want to ask you about your defensive side of the ball. The issues you've been having over there, kind of talk about what you're seeing there and how you guys approach those.
We've worked, like I said, we changed our preparation tactics this week, and again, it's about the fundamentals and details that we need to do to get ourselves better. We know we need to get better up front. It starts there. And we feel we're making great progress there, given what we've done this week. So we're just going to continue to work on those fundamentals and making sure we're playing more gap integrity and also getting the linebackers fitting in their respective gaps, and then the secondary fitting in their respective gaps, usually on the perimeter.
Right.
So we've had a lot of just work of just shoring up a lot of those issues right now. So that's really the focal point of when you're in a position where we are. We got to play better, right? We have to understand what our system is and get ourselves in better position so that we were able to make more plays, and that was really the point this week.
That young secondary, we talked a little bit about that early in the season, kind of wondering how they've reacted. Have they grown?
I think the young sector is a good team. I mean, it's a good secondary. I know that we've had a couple touchdowns this last week, and both throws were there. The defense was there.
Yeah.
They were perfect throws right over the outside shoulder on the first touchdown. I think before the half, and I think later in the game, the other touchdown, the guy with the balls, he kind of threw a back shoulder and he turned around and caught it as he was going out of bounds, and the corner's in great position, just nowhere to defend that. So. Yeah. They were great plays, but we're tight on the coverage, but there was pretty good ball location in terms of where the quarterback threw those things. Again, a veteran quarterback, so I think they're playing pretty well. If you look at all the games, even in the Air Force, there weren't many. That's not their system anyway to throw the football, but they tried to and didn't have a lot of success. And even in our first game, they had a couple plays that they hit, but there wasn't anything that was. It was more the running game that hurt us more than anything. So. I think that young secondary is holding up pretty well.
Trevor Wood's going to come on here in just a bit. He's kind of a fun young player. One of the first times he touched the ball, he ends up scoring a touchdown, of course, and talk about him a little bit.
He's playing pretty well. He's one of the bright spots of what we're doing defensively. He had a lot of tackles in the Air Force game, and he had to sit the first half of the Minnesota game and came in and kind of filled his role of what he normally does. But he's a sophomore, but he is he's one of our veteran players right now, and he really understands, helps people get lined up, and he's a good communicator. So his confidence is, you can see it in his play. He's really getting better week after week, and so we're excited that he's one of our safeties.
Did you happen to wander by and get a photo with the Stanley Cup when it was on? It was right outside your office, I think, or close to it.
No,
anyway.
I think it was on the 6th floor.
6th floor, upstairs.
Yeah, I heard it was up there, but we're busy working.
Yeah.
So.
You saw Ralphie got to eat out of it.
Ralphie did?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, took it down to Ralphie.
That's nice. No,
but
I
then
didn't see that.
When you think about the Stanley Cup, I guarantee you that's not the least cleanly thing that's ever happened to that Stanley Cup. I guarantee you that.
It seems like a lot of mouths.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. Hopefully, after she was slobbering all over, hope they wipe that thing off afterward. Hey, good luck this weekend.
I appreciate it. Thank
all
you.
right, Carl Durrell is going to take on UCLA. He and his Buffaloes at noon on Saturday. Gary and I are going to hit the air at 10 o'clock on Saturday morning from Franklin Field with the Buffalo Stampede pregame show. Safeties coach Brett Maxey is going to join us next as we continue for the Post Chicken and Beer. This is Colorado football from Learfield. Hey, Buffs fans looking for a place to cheer on the Buffaloes? Join Buff Nation at the official CU Watch Party locations in Colorado, that being the Schoolhouse in Arvada and the Blake Street Tavern in Denver when the Buffs are on the road. Of course, every week coming out here on Thursdays from 12:30 to 1:30, we go live to tape with the Post Chicken and Beer. Show airs later on that evening on the network and on our flagship 850 KOA from 8 till 9 o'clock. Segment number 3 is always the assistant coach segment. And safeties coach Brett Maxey joining us. Welcome.
Mark, thanks for having me, man. It's always a joy to sit here and talk to you.
Yeah, good to see you. All right, well, safeties. Bring us up to date. How you feeling about the way they're performing so far through 3 games?
I think we're performing, up to standard, but there's always room for improvement, obviously. And we look to improve after every game. So after the first game, I thought we played reasonably sound football in the passing game. In the run game, we were just okay. We need to contribute there more.
Okay.
After the second game against Air Force, I thought we did an outstanding job in the passing game. We knew that they were a heavy run football team, and we had to be ultra disciplined in the passing game because they'll run, and then take a shot. And I thought our guys did a heck of a job in doing that. Getting out on the perimeter in terms of defending the run was a challenge. And then, this past game against Minnesota, again, we need to be more, we need to contribute more to the run game and do our part to try to, eliminate a lot of the explosives that we've had over the last 3 weeks. So I'm pleased up until this point, but I know there's a lot of room for improvement, and they feel the same way as well.
The way college football and preparation and what's allowed, what's not allowed during camp, how do you think that's affected teams' ability to tackle? And I'm kind of asking a broad defensive question.
Yeah.
Carl talked about all the missed tackles last week. What are you seeing from your guys? And is the preparation of what we've done in college football starting to affect how guys are early in the season tackling?
Yeah, and everybody has the same issues.
Sure.
So we can't, we can't say that that's hampering our ability to get people on the ground and limit them to what our standard is, less than 4 yards, a gain. So everyone has the same issues. I think that it's an emphasis every day. You have to change it up. Carl has done a great job in terms of allowing us to thud and make contact in practice. We did some different things in our individual periods as a unit to get more body on body type of drills to help, with the contact part of the of tackling. The thing that you don't get in practice is what you obviously need when you're in a game, is to take a player to the ground. So it's hard to simulate that, but we try to do it as best we can, with the equipment that we have. So it's a challenge, and you just have to continue to work it, even after practice. We'll spend some time over on one of the other fields when it's free, just working on the open field tackling with an agile bag. I'll put them at 10 yards. They'll backpedal. I'll take off running, and then they're going to have to match. They're going to have to match and mirror which way the runner is going. So I'm simulating a runner,
Right,
and keeping her head up, short stride, a long stride to close the distance between the defender and the runner, and then shorten your stride to come under control and keep your eyes and head up.
You got a relatively young group there. I mean, you got Isaiah Lewis. So there's a senior out there, but Trevor
Yes.
Woods, a sophomore. We're going to talk to Trevor here shortly. Jalen Stryker's a young guy. Jeremy Mack's a young guy. So you're throwing a lot of guys out there, haven't played a lot of football. It's got to be nice to have a guy like Isaiah. You can count on him, can't you?
Absolutely,
and he's
I
played
can.
some pretty good football, isn't he?
Yes, he has. When you look at that room, we got 3 seniors, which you alluded to. We got 7 sophomores, and a handful of those sophomores played. Trevor Woods played last year as a true freshman. And then we got 3 freshmen.
Yeah.
We don't have any juniors.
Right.
Okay, so that's where the void is coming from.
Right.
That's what makes us so young. But having Isaiah Lewis, along with Trevor,
Sure.
has made the difference in terms of making up for the lack of experience that we have in that room. One, they have demanded the respectability because of how they work in the classroom, because it goes from the classroom to the field, and they've done an outstanding job of doing that and bringing guys together in terms of their study habits and learning how to watch film, being more detailed in their work. Because a lot of those young guys, those freshmen, they don't get it yet.
Sure.
And Isaiah and Trevor has done a really good job of helping me as a coach try to implement how critical it is to watch film on your own, because you're not going to get a lot of it with me because of the college rules, the 20-hour rule.
Well, when you've got a team like this and you're not heavy in veterans at the top level, a lot of kind of that culture teaching, if you will, that a lot of times veteran players can help younger guys understand. It falls to you guys and the staff, doesn't it?
Yes, it does,
Yeah.
because we have to organize it as best we can, and when you have players that are vetted, they may not be veteran players, but they're vetted, like Isaiah and Trevor, to where they can organize it and be an extension of a coach is really what they are, and they've been able to do that successfully.
We're going to have Trevor up here just a moment. Tell me about what you see for him as a young player.
I think he has a very high ceiling as a young player. I think one of the things that makes him so interesting is his football knowledge is about as high as you can get that I've seen as a young player. You know, he was a two-sport player in high school. He was a baseball player. He played outfield. I think he played some infield as a first baseman. And plus, you know, his dad played collegiate football at Rice University. So, and his family is an athletic family. So he's got some of those genes already built in him, you know, innately. And I think that's where it comes from. Plus, he played in Texas. You know, Texas football is big.
High level.
It's you know, they take football very seriously.
You bet.
And they have very good coaches. So his knowledge of football when he stepped on the University of Colorado's campus was a lot higher than some of the other kids in his class. And it's because of his, you know, the experience that he was able to get by playing in the state of Texas.
Tell me a little bit about UCLA as you view them from a defensive standpoint. Veteran quarterback, obviously, you heard Carl talk about. Yes. But tell me about their offense and the challenges you guys are going to face in the secondary.
The challenge is you know, the quarterback that you alluded to. They have a very good running back. They have big guys up front that can create some push to create some openings. And we're going to have to be very, very disciplined in our gap integrity. And then after that, you know, they're gonna throw the ball around the yard, and the quarterback can get the ball down the football field. They're gonna force you to play 11 on 11 because he's an extra running back in the backfield. Yeah. Because of his ability to get out of the pocket and create, you know, plays outside of the pocket. He's a very interesting athlete from this standpoint of after he goes through his progression. Somehow, some way, he's going to find an escape route. It's not always the same. So you can't pinpoint where he's going to escape. He has unbelievable vision as a quarterback, moving in the pocket. And that's one of the things you have to have as a quarterback. You have to be able to navigate and move within the pocket, especially when the protection starts to break down. He gets out. And what you have to be really careful of is making sure that you have all your lanes taken care of and maybe even having somebody with extra eyes on him. Right. So, you know, he's a challenge in itself. And then they got receivers outside. They got a slot receiver that's extremely explosive in terms of speed.
Yeah, Casimir Allen.
Yes. Yeah. And so they're going to prevent, I mean, if you stop the run, you're not done yet. Okay. Because now you got to stop the pass. Right. If you're not stopping the pass, or if you stop the pass, now you got to be able to stop the run. Yeah. So we're going to have to be very, very detailed in both areas. All right. Which is going to be a challenge.
Well, it's going to be back home this weekend and open up Pac-12 conference play. Brett, good luck this weekend.
Thank you so much.
All right, safety Brett Maxey, safety coach Brett Maxey, joining us here for our assistant coaches segment. Coming up next, we're going to talk to the aforementioned Trevor Woods. Our players segment comes up next here on the Buffs Prime Time. We're at the Post Chicken and Beer in downtown Boulder. This is Colorado football from Learfield. Back one final time on Buffs Prime Time for the Post Chicken and Beer in downtown Boulder. Time for our players segment. And joining us is sophomore safety Trevor Woods. During a commercial break, he was making us feel old up here. He's from Katy, Texas. And we figured out that Renee Zellweger and Clint Black were from Katy, Texas. He kind of knew one of the two.
From my mom.
Goodness gracious, you're making us feel old. Holy cow. Clint Black's a country singer. You don't know that.
I don't know that.
Renee Zellweger's in Jerry Maguire. Please don't ask me who Jerry Maguire is.
I know who Jerry Maguire is.
All right, glad we got that taken care of. Yeah. Buffs getting ready for UCLA coming up this weekend. Well, you missed a little action last week.
Yeah.
Huh?
Whole first half, sadly.
Yeah. That's it. That's one of the tougher things in college football. You've got to remain aggressive, but you got to be careful. That's a fine line you guys walk.
Yeah, no, it's rough. You know, you kind of got to just keep the same mentality. You know, the first one was kind of a weird situation. You know, he jumped up in the air and dropped his head. Yeah. But I mean, and even the second one was, or that was close. You know, he slid late kind of into me, so I tried to pull myself up a little too late. But you know, you can't really change your mentality because you know tackling it's all about like a want to do it. You know, so gotta, can't change anything really. Just gotta know.
For a guy like you that plays that position where you've got to be aggressive, and I've always thought that's the toughest thing, and I think a lot of time fans understand that. You come flying in with your tail on fire, and you're going to blow somebody up because you got to make the tackle. But in that split second before you hit the guy, you're trying to figure out, is my head going to hit his head? I mean, is that something you're cognitively thinking about, or is it just instinct at that point? If it happens, you kind of go, well, didn't mean it to, but.
I mean, I didn't really think about it at all.
Sure.
It was just, go down there and try and make the tackle. Just do what I've done plenty of times in my life. So it doesn't really cross my mind too much when it happens. Before the game, before the Minnesota game, we kind of made some jokes. Don't do it again. But
Right.
But once you get out there, it's just you're just playing ball.
Up in the booth, we were looking at the replay. We didn't think that second was targeting at all.
No, it wasn't.
You were good. You were good in that deal. It was good to have you back. That would have been a tough deal. You get out there for about 5 minutes, and next thing you know, you're out again.
That would have been rough. People were already making jokes about it.
And then you're a repeat offender, and the reputation comes with that. Playing safety is an interesting mentality to me. What you have to do, you've got to be athletic enough to cover, and you got to be aggressive enough. And last week we saw you walking up on the line of scrimmage quite a bit. You're up there getting physical like a linebacker. That's an interesting dichotomy that you kind of have as a safety, isn't it?
Yeah, it's my favorite part about it is you kind of feel more versatile in a way.
Sure.
Like you said, I get to go up on the box. Sometimes I'm even kind of up on the line, and then the next play I might be deep. So just getting to move around, just play everywhere. That's my favorite part about it.
How did you become a Buffalo? From Katy, Texas. So how does that have you? You're in the Houston metro area, and here you are in Boulder. How'd that happen?
I have some family up here actually. So I had never been to Boulder, but I had been to Denver before,
okay.
And I know it's a beautiful area. I came and visited. That was during the COVID time, so I couldn't actually go and see anybody.
Sure.
But I went with my dad, my sister, and one of my cousins who lives around here, and we just kind of walked around the campus and got to see some stuff. And I remember just driving down. It was awesome from Highway 36. That was kind of where I made my decision.
Yeah, you come over the hill there, and there's sitting down below you. It's kind of spectacular, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did your dad try and steer you to Rice at all since he played football there or not?
I felt like he kind of wanted to. He was kind of leaning that way, but he had been through it before. He wanted it to be my decision, and I mean he loved it too here, and
yeah. So here you are.
Yeah.
Take us in the locker room right now. Here you guys sit at 0-3. Take us in the locker room. Where's this team's attitude at? Kind of the mindset, the mentality of this football team.
I mean, I think we're good.
Good.
We've all had deep conversations, just whether it's me and another guy talking, or just as a unit, or even as the whole team. We've had, we even had a speaker. I feel like we're coming together, and inside that locker room, those are the people who believe the most.
Yeah.
And that's what really matters.
This guy, he's only a sophomore, but already they're talking about you as kind of being one of the leaders, one of the veterans out there, even though he's just a sophomore. Big ball game on Saturday. Go out there and have some fun, and let's get a win. What do you think?
Of course. I mean, that's the plan.
There you go.
That's what we got to do.
Sophomore safety Trevor Woods, number 43, one of the exciting young Buffaloes as they get set to take on UCLA on Saturday. Again, Gary and I are going to hit the air at 10 o'clock on Saturday morning. We'll be out on Franklin Field for the first hour and 15 minutes or so. Then at noon, it's the Buffs and the Bruins as we put a wrap on Buffs Primetime here at the Post Chicken and Beer in downtown Boulder. Out here next Thursday. Come on out and see us. This is Colorado football from Learfield.